Well, so much for the warning that I'm getting live from a little dialogue. Ladies and gentlemen of the interwebs, welcome to the Beacon TVL show, the weekly podcast from Beacon DeFi with Beacon, your beacon in the world of decentralized finance. I'm your host, Professor Chris. We've got a great show lined up today as we tackle the news of the week that's relevant to you, our dear users, in the world of on-chain, blockchain, and decentralized finance. Today on the show, we have to my this way. Oh, that way. We got Pete from the Beefy Core team. Welcome back, sir. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year. Good to be back.
Thank you, sir. And then we also have down here Robert the DJ guy. Excellent Web3 native. Hire this man. How are you, sir?
I'm good. I'm good. Hello
In
from
literal paradise, must I add?
hello from Tulum, Mexico.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Speaking of places that were not paradise, a place that EP and I have a very related origin story to, which is how all of our friends out in Texas, in Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, which is pretty much a once in a lifetime event of getting so much snow that it shut down entire cities. Like the city of Houston, zero snow plows. I'm pretty sure anything in Mississippi, Alabama, and Florida, zero snow plows. So a lot of people are just stuck, interestingly enough. I remember the last time it snowed out in the Panhandle. It was 1993. It was literally like a 1.5, 2 inch dusting, if you want to call it that. It did cover the sidewalks, but then it melted within 8 hours. So apparently they've still closed school and everything out that way. So how about you, Pete? How's your family doing out there? They're all right?
They're doing good. I think they are enjoying just getting out and playing around, and been getting fun videos and pictures and stuff like over the last 24 hours of just like I'm in pure disbelief. I think I saw maybe some flakes come down one time the entire time I lived along the Gulf Coast, and absolutely nothing like this.
How about you, Robert? Have you seen snow in your lifetime?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Willingly?
Yeah, willingly. Yeah, my dad's from Boston, and I lived
Oh,
there
yeah.
for a year in high school, so I definitely saw. I've seen snow.
Yeah. Wicked snow up in Boston. Good nor'easter
Yeah,
coming through.
yeah. Eating some chowder.
Some chowder.
Yeah, yeah,
Park the car in Harvard Yard.
yeah. Exactly.
My apologies to anybody up in the Northeast who is
let's go.
instantly offended by my terrible effort.
Let's go to the park. Let's go to the park and ride some horses, eat some chowder.
Yeah, get pissed. It's wicked smart, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. How about them apples?
How about them apples? There you go. Well, guys, it's been a week. I I really don't even know how to describe. I mean, it's literally like we kind of woke up from two different dreams in a weird way, because suddenly, Bitcoin hit we got an all-time high with Bitcoin since the last episode. Since we all last talked, Bitcoin's done all kinds of weird, funky V-shaped things. Ethereum's still lagging behind as usual, but XRP up above $3, guys. That's wild to see. But even since then, Solana hit an all-time high. And even if you look at bubbles today, you're not really sure exactly why that's happening, to be quite honest, because it's not showing here, right? But if I hit the week, the narrative will come up here. Well, is it? Oh, wow, it's not even there. Where are you, Trump? Yeah. Okay. I don't know who pissed off somebody at Bubbles, but because I have a really fun image from when I was doing our master class on Saturday, and I'm only because this actually happened in the middle of our master class, and literally we could do no demos. Everything was slow. It was just ridiculous. And what this was literally the most unimaginable meme coin launch of all time, quite honestly. Doesn't matter how you feel about your politics. This was a huge butterfly effect going on. And this was Saturday roughly about 2 p.m. Eastern that this screenshot was taken. But this doesn't even look like him. He looks like Capital One advertisement. But what a way to get normies into the system, I guess. Is probably the easiest way to go about it. If you were a user on Coinbase and trying to send money to Solana, that wasn't happening. I feel really unfortunate for anyone who was trying to send money over and taking like 12 to 72 hours for that money to even get close to a Solana wallet. So DeFi bridges went crazy. It was almost like a storm surge would be the best way to describe what it was. So if you're not familiar with the way a lot of hurricanes work, is as they're rumbling, across the zone, like let's just call it, like in the Caribbean, for example, a storm surge will actually suck water out from all of the islands, pulling their shoreline like up in some cases up to a mile up into the hurricane center, and using that warm water, that energy, to strengthen the storm as it starts to move over until it makes landfall in a significant area, and then dumps all of that storm surge, that water, all over the place. Pete, I know you're very well familiar with the idea of storm surge, but that's literally what happened here over the weekend. So just to give you a timeline, this was launched during the crypto ball that he had on Friday evening. We were watching, we saw it. Everyone thought this was a rug, mainly because he posted on Truth Social about it and was like, there's no way the president of the United States would actually launch a meme coin. This has to be, he got hacked, And some people are like, yeah, he probably did, but I'm going to ape anyway. Within I think it was 10, 15 minutes, Pete and Robert, we saw 1 billion market cap on this coin, and it just went absolutely nuts.
Yeah, we talked about that. I was like, you were like, did you get in? And I was like, no, 1 billion's a little rich for me.
Ultimately, we did hold a poll on TVL, specifically on how high that was going to go, and we had multiple people vote specifically for I think the number is 100. Yeah. Oops. 100 billion. 15, 20, 40, 100 billion was the number. Ultimately, it's currently sitting, for anybody who's curious, it's sitting at about 7.97 billion. But yeah, we did reach up to the $75, $80 mark. That was after, roughly about 24 to 36 hours. We did follow it. If you're in our mastermind, you can check our Discord. We did set up multiple pools trying to capitalize off of this. I personally just went out there, made a quick buy, made roughly about, let's call it $650 in profit. It was an interesting time. It was definitely very volatile. Good way to make money off of this if you're an incentive or yield farmer. A lot of our members made decent money. So interestingly enough, this is where the narrative kind of shifted, because as you see, this gigantic red candle came down. This was Sunday on the 19th. And if you're wondering what that was, ladies and gentlemen, it was this. The First Lady released I don't know if this was just part of the plan to try and test the waters. The rumor the whole time was that they're just testing the waters specifically for this. And there's rumors of more coins coming, right? But anyway, people saw this. They're like, oh, I made profits with Trump. Let's rotate into Melania. And you see this here. It went quickly up to 3 billion market cap and just continued to run. Unfortunately, it came at the expense of a lot of people who are holding Trump. And you saw a lot of people just, at one point, so here's the one thing. One holder holds more than 80% of the supply. In fact, they own 80% of the supply. For those of you who are unaware, and we probably have a lot of new people watching the show curious about Trump and what you can do with that coin. There's a lot you can do, actually. But this is a very concerning figure, regardless of what project you're on. Even if someone's holding 3.91%, mainly because in this case, this is what we call a whale who's looking for what we call exit liquidity. And basically what they'll do is more people buy into the coin, this account will start selling. Now, does anyone have any thoughts on who owns that 80%? Just out of curiosity.
Baron?
What's
Baron.
Yeah, probably, honestly.
I'm joking.
Interesting number.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
curious.
there's a
in
lot
this
of
case,
theories on who owns it. Go ahead.
Well, if it's Trump and his family, I'm curious how he plans to sell at some point. I mean, what his exit plan actually is, because he has to exit at some point, right?
Well, in a way, they already have. And we'll talk about the irony of all this in just a second. But I'll tell you who I think. And again, not financial advice. Do your own research, of course. Who owns the 80%? I think it's Jupiter. So they posted this early the next morning. This is probably the best kept secret in all of crypto, to be quite honest, because the team, I think it's CIC Ventures, who owns all of these properties, affiliated with the Trump companies. They worked with Meteora and Jupiter to create a really good market on Meteora, along with enough liquidity and enough support from Jupiter's architecture to make this launch happen and not kill Solana. At one point, Phantom mentioned that they were running 8 million requests per second on the wallet on Sunday. I can only imagine what it was on Saturday, but that is an immense amount of volume. No matter how you look at it. I mean, that is just an immense amount of volume. Things have slowed down a bit, right? They've been able to create, handle the oncoming rush. So if there was ever a stress test to be somewhat bullish on Jupiter, on Meteor, on Solana, this is it. Because they could have launched this coin anywhere. They could have launched it on Base because of his ties with Brian Armstrong, them meeting previously. He could have launched this on Ethereum mainnet because that's where World Liberty Financial is. They have different places they could have done this. But the fact that they did it on Solana, which I get why, tech-wise, right? Because it was meant to be a very high throughput chain with sub-second finality. There's a reason why other groups like Pudgy Penguins also went to Solana to do their launches. So a lot of insiders on this? No. I mean, yes and no, right? There's a lot of people who in my circles who were just like really upset that they missed out on this launch because it was at least a multi-million-dollar profit potential that could have been there. So personally, I think this institution, between this conglomerate of people that helped make this, are holding the 80% because, and again, I don't know if you remember this, EP, the Stargate launch. Do you remember the Stargate launch?
I wasn't there at launch.
You were there at launch?
No, I was not. Okay.
So Stargate, which is Layer Zero's liquidity layer, they were launching their STG token, and they did the unthinkable. They posted the contract address, so everybody knew that this launch was coming. And yeah, there were tons and tons of people in a bunch of different groups that I was in that were waiting for this launch and trying to figure out the best way to outsmart one another. When the launch happened, I think that whatever happened, and regardless, Alameda Research botted the launch and bought the entire supply with, I think, 25 million in gas. This to me felt very similar to that. Obviously, the intentions of Alameda Research are much different than someone like Meteora and Jupiter, who are just trying to ensure, let's hopefully hope that it's to ensure that this went off without a hitch. Because, I mean, this is unprecedented to see an incoming sitting president or a world leader launch a meme coin. Thinking about it from that standpoint, what do you guys think about the implications of just the idea of this happening?
Sorry, I've been going through SoulScan. So this 80% holder is an EOA, not a contract.
Looks like it, yeah.
That's crazy.
Right? Right? I mean, there's a lot of people that are like, there's no way I'm buying that token, right? In most situations, you're like, oh, there's someone holds 80% of the supply. There's no way I'm buying that token. But I mean, I mean, now here's the thing. Now they can't sell, right? Now they can't sell because they've created literally a too big to fail coin. I'm not going to go that far, but it would have long-standing implications if anyone from Meteora, from Jupiter, from even the Trump companies were to start selling this token. So, what they did do, and because they obviously made a ton in profit, multiple platforms made millions in fees off of this, right? Yeah, this is what they did. So they bought 47 million in ETH, 47 million in wrapped Bitcoin, 4.7 billion in Aave, Link, Tron, and ENA as a commemoration, right? So let me tell you the the irony of this, right? And there's some takes on here I can't post the picture of because there's just some language that just is probably not good. Remember the storm surge I talked about? Where all the liquidity just pulled out and then suddenly there were just all these coins that lost a ton of value. And, suddenly all of these coins here were on a huge discount. Aave, Link, TRX, ENA, SUI, AI. The AI sector got wrecked by this. Like Cerebro was down 65% off of the Trump buy. Anything on Solana got stomped because all of the liquidity was flowing to buy this Trump coin. And then they came back and they bought on all of these coins on what was probably the best dip buy you're ever going to find. Right? So they're in the details lies the irony of it all. Is there were probably a ton of people who sold these coins because they wanted to get on the Trump coin. Trump gets cut off at the knees by Melania. And then now, yeah, go ahead.
No, is it ironic or was it anticipated? Right.
That's a good question, right? Is this the way the story was supposed to play out here in the simulation?
Yeah.
Because when you think about it that way, that is wild, right? So it's like they've profited three times technically off of you as a user. So, I mean, as great as this is probably for our industry and getting more people retail excited about coming in, especially for us at Beacon, because now we have more of an opportunity to try and educate more people about crypto investing and DeFi. And if you know anybody who has Trump and they're trying to figure out what to do with it, how to get into the system, please send them our way. More than happy to take care of them. But at the same time, it almost makes me a little uneasy based on how the events have played out, right? Because it sets a weird precedent. So,
something that's very good though for this, if this is somebody's like on ramp, their intro to crypto, I think it beats last cycle's main on ramp of like your Celsius and BlockFi and all these other CDFi applications that just rugged billions of dollars, and of course FTX and so I mean. There's definitely I think there's better on ramps, but there's also much worse on ramps.
That's true. You were saying, Robert?
Oh, no, I was gonna say, given kind of the layout you just put out there for the model of how this was rolled out, I'm curious because I've heard other people talk about how. Now everybody can launch their own meme coin, like big figures, and more so than before. Like there's no limits on it now. mean, it could be a company, it could be an entity, it could be anything launches on its own meme coin now. And I'm curious how those models will differ from this one, because I mean, like you said, in this situation, it's impossible to sell without rugging everybody.
Right. Exactly.
So I mean, that
And like you said,
that can't be true for everything. They have to
no, you're right. Think about all the celebrity coins from the last year that rugged, right? Whether you got into Tua or Hawk, my bad. Hawk, Dwight Howard, did Scottie Pippen do a coin? I don't think so. I think he's better than that. But Andrew Tate, there's a whole bunch. I mean, there's a whole list. I mean, Iggy Azalea still is probably the most successful meme coin issuer. That's a celebrity.
Literally just pulled up.
Mother,
yeah.
Yeah, Mother's probably still the only one that's alive. The rest are all gone. They're all gone.
And while it's like the least ruggy, like looking at the chart is still really bad.
Yeah, I mean, but maybe we'll get Iggy Azalea on this call sometime. That'd be fantastic if that was the case. If she became a panelist, talking about being a celebrity and coming into this space. One thing that's interesting too is that looking at the top 3 apps in, I guess, the finance. Okay, maybe the top 7. 5 of the 7 are related to crypto. Moonshot made a ton of money off of getting in there. Phantom was already the number 2 app, so yeah, a lot of easy ways for people to be onboarded into crypto, and they're onboarded into what we call the people's blockchain. Very low fees, a lot of interesting consumer facing things like NFTs and crypto betting and gambling and stuff like that.
I honestly did not expect crypto.com to have first spot over Coinbase, especially.
Yeah, well, I think too, it's there's an interesting thing with crypto.com, right? Because as a DEX, you can't access it from a website. It's all mobile. So that might be something that is easier to access to a lot of people, because they have they're fairly lenient. They don't have I think it's like a 24-hour hold, I think, on funds, whereas like Coinbase is like 3 to 5 days. Kraken used to be 24 hours, now they're like 3 to 5 days or
Kraken,
longer.
I remember having to wait like 48 hours or something like that.
Yeah, which isn't bad
like
if you think about
back,
it. Yeah. So I mean, it
could be the search term too. It's like
yeah.
The average pleb is just like crypto.
You can also see like they put buy Trump into their kind of how they appear in the marketplace.
Yeah, they've been very smart about this. This has definitely been a huge dog and pony show. It's just really more how you feel about not just the precedent, but just the lingering idea that that a world leader would try and release a meme coin right before inauguration day. It's very apparent that a lot of people were just looking to hold up until inauguration and then sell. Right. It was definitely a literally buy the rumor, sell the news event. Right. So, I mean, look at Melania's chart.
I understand the liquidity situation where everyone just sucked up all the liquidity, but
yeah,
I mean, it's probably only a matter of time. But I'm surprised that isn't happening already. That alts are not all getting a massive boost from this, because I mean, I think the biggest implication is that there's no rules anymore.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like all bets are off. All bets are off. Like if the president can launch a meme coin like this, especially structured the way that it is, what can they possibly regulate? Like
I would certainly caution anyone who is not the president of the United States, though, since they have Supreme Court backed protection against anything as long as it's an official presidential act.
But I mean, it kind of sets a precedent, right? Saying kind of like, well, if they can do that, like, what can the SEC or anybody else or Congress possibly, what can they do now? I mean, if you could just, if you get a lawsuit filed against you or a motion filed against you, it's you just point to the president and be like, look, Trump launched a meme coin. Like how much worse
And I
can it
think
get?
that's kind of been an MO, right? For not an MO, but just maybe a symbol of his presidency as a whole, regardless if it's this term or last term, where it's a lot of precedent, a lot of unwritten rules, a lot of things that you shouldn't do, and he just kind of smashed all those unwritten rules, right? So it's now this is you can do all this, even though people are like, oh, you really shouldn't do that. Like, you really should sell all your companies and all that type of stuff before you come into office if you're in public office, period, right? And so there's a lot of implications on this, right? So a lot of people are really, a lot of people are pointing the finger both sides of the aisle at someone like Nancy Pelosi, right? They're like, how can you allow Nancy Pelosi to earn money off of stocks? Exhibit A here, right? So it's like, you can't use that argument anymore. I mean, not only have they done that, they've taken the profits and they've bought even more stuff in DeFi. So what does this mean for you as a user? This means that hopefully there's pro DeFi and pro crypto legislation coming very soon. With that said, we'll move over to the next piece of news, which is acting chairman Mark Uyeda, who's the SEC chairman now that Gary Gensler has resigned as of the 20th, has announced the formation of a new task force with Crypto Mom, Commissioner Hester Pierce, leading the agency-wide effort. The sole purpose of this task force is literally to create a clear and comprehensive regulatory framework for crypto assets. So to answer your guys' question on how are we going to do this, Crypto Mom is going to come and save the day, I suppose, which is good. She was a permissionless in Salt Lake City. I didn't get a chance to shake her hand, but very curious about what's going to happen moving forward. If this means that crypto is now quickly going to come to with a regulatory framework, and that's why Trump has not said anything, because he didn't mention crypto in the inauguration address. I don't know why people thought that he was going to. And every time he's been asked about it, he's been kind of glib, right? They asked him about the meme coin yesterday. Speaking of, if you're looking at this red candle right here, and his answer was, when they asked him about his meme coin, I don't really know that much about it, or something like that. It was a very glib answer. I'm like, no, you know a lot about it. You know an awful lot about it. But
I honestly
ultimately,
don't think he knows a lot about it.
well, he knows enough, right? Because for all of this to happen, he has specific knowledge on what he wants out of it, right? The ability to use Bitcoin as a strategic reserve to help with the energy crisis, that is a platform issue for him. I'm not going to go too much into politics, obviously, but ultimately, there's a lot of things that are tied into a lot of things he's promised to the American people on the campaign trail that he probably will talk about more once we have a clear framework for regulatory stuff. They've got some things happening, though. For anybody who's been paying attention, outgoing Secretary Janet Yellen talked about the debt ceiling crisis, and we're going to have one in the next week or so. So these are all things, if you are a newer investor here in the space, if you're just getting into it now, things you need to pay attention to. With that said, quick segue to our group here. If you're looking for information to help you make these decisions, understanding how to get into decentralized finance, doing more than just holding your coin in a wallet or just buying it on an exchange, you can do more with that. Learn exactly what that is here at our free group, Total Value Locked, from our group here at Beacon. It's absolutely free to join, and please do so when you get a chance. Learn from the best in the business here at Beacon DeFi, school.com/Beacon. Okay. Back to the news. Any other things you guys want to talk about before we head to this next piece with regards to what's happened over the last week? Because we're going to see some interesting things shape up, because we do have a very pro-crypto administration coming through. A lot of puppet masters behind the scenes pulling a lot of strings, making sure that the administration is set up with the right people to push this agenda.
I did want to cover DeFi, DEFAI.
We'll do that actually in the next section, in
Okay,
the what we've learned section. We are covering that, no worries.
Yeah. Okay.
But and I'm glad you mentioned that. It's like you have a segue for me here, because we have this Stargate project. Speaking of DeFi, DEF, AI, DeFi. Uh,
I
this
also
was
nearly
announced.
mentioned this too.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that was talked about yesterday. Oops, sorry, trying to get rid of a notification here. Uh, this is a $500 billion initiative over 4 years, from OpenAI, from SoftBank, from Oracle, which means Microsoft is, of course, involved with this. And basically, it's to help build a pathway to AGI, right? Which is, what we are all very much afraid of, for true AGI to be a thing with artificial intelligence. President Trump actually mentioned this, very prominently yesterday, and I think I want to say it was at the White House. But they're starting with $100 billion deployed immediately, and basically it's for the one thing that President Trump loves, and that is to be the leader in everything. Making sure that all of our surrounding waters, whether it be the Eastern American Ocean, the Western American Ocean, or the Gulf of America, that in AI, let me tell you, we're going to be the leaders with this. Masayoshi Son from SoftBank, which is a Japanese company. He's going to be the chairman of this group, which will be interesting, and we're going to see. He's going to handle a lot of the operational stuff, where all of the tech stuff is coming from Oracle and OpenAI. This is interesting, because we're seeing a lot of interesting moves to make this a reality. From a decentralization standpoint, at least for us, we're hoping that this doesn't like overwhelm and overshadow the work of decentralized AI, stuff like BitTensor, and a lot of the great projects in DeFi, in on-chain and blockchain, that are trying to make sure that there isn't just giant entities like Anthropic, OpenAI, Google with Gemini, Meta with whatever they've got building, even Amazon with Rufus or whatever it's called. We want to make sure there's competition. We want to make sure there's choice, and that one specific entity, sovereign or not, owns all of this tech. So go ahead and start with you, Pete. Your thoughts on this. You said you were about to mention it.
Yeah, so I mean, it's such a big thing in general. I mean, I've seen a lot of comparisons to the Manhattan Project in far as like the investment versus like as a percentage of GDP. It's really on that level with how like significant of an investment this is, and I think it's absolutely going to touch many things. I'm very curious how it's going to affect kind of energy infrastructure, because I think a lot of this is energy related. They're going to need a lot more energy to drive all the compute. You've got the chip aspect as well, of course. But I hope like this drives better energy infrastructure, hopefully across the country, and not just like in Texas, or if they set up another location elsewhere. Because I mean, I haven't seen it recently, but it seems like every winter you can count on like Texas grid shutting down due to sheer cold. So obviously they're going to have robust energy infrastructure to serve this project, and I hope that kind of can expand.
Your thoughts, Robert?
Yeah, actually, I wanted to mention a project that I had been interviewing with. I got pretty far in the process, and I developed a good relationship with the team. I don't think it's going to be competitive on the level of this amount, amount of insane funding and ties to the government and all that kind of stuff. But it's called hyperbolic AI. I'm not like just promoting them, but the whole concept behind it is something that a few other projects are doing too in the space. But this one is actually pretty well rooted in the traditional world of Web 2, and it's just decentralized compute essentially,
Right. Okay.
and inference. And so I think that's one of the only viable paths that this company or any other projects in the Web3 space that are doing that, I think that is a viable alternative, because I mean you can accumulate quite a bit of compute by decentralizing it. It actually is competitive with
Mm-hmm.
existing companies.
Yeah, we have great projects like a Cache, and some of these other projects are very similar in terms of providing uh, that type of stuff. Of course, BitTensor, which we've had the Taoshi team on from Subnet 8. There's multiple subnets that are working on initiatives like that as well. One thing I did want to point out before we move on, so we don't stick too long in here, but uh, Elon with the world level troll literally owns the platform, makes itself the first comment that says they don't actually have the money. I'm like, only you, Elon, would try and troll something of this, and it just makes me laugh.
I mean, he's very well aware of buying things with money he doesn't have liquid.
Exactly, I was about to say, and he's very upset. He's very upset with OpenAI, right? This is like I knew it was gonna come because of his. He hates OpenAI. Like if he had actual hate in his soul, it would come from this group. He's out for him. He is out for him, and I'm just like it was just interesting. Yeah, he is just going after them, and Sam was nice enough to. I'm not even going to go into the drama of all this, but I openly chuckled by something like this because, um, yeah. Well, Sam said they already have a site. He's welcome to come visit, and I'm like, okay. Well, I guess we'll see what happens here.
I can
Okay.
taste the salt.
Right?
I mean, there's a pretty high likelihood that there's already an Elon agent that tweets for him.
Oh yeah. I would be shocked if that wasn't. I mean, how the hell else is he going to level up in Diablo and all these other games? There's no way. with the amount of
Yeah.
prowess that he says he has in these games, that he has time to troll the internet with this stuff.
He runs like 7 gigantic world breaking companies, and he's the #1 Diablo player in the world.
Yes, exactly.
And tweets every 5 minutes. Yeah, it's
exactly. But I will say, and we haven't talked about it. I don't know if it's not even relevant, but the Earth to Earth rockets from SpaceX that are coming. Have you guys seen that? Where they're using it to, yeah, no, I'm definitely not testing that. It's like if you can catch the rocket once out of every 10 times, pass.
this was something that seems like originally came up like 2017 or something like that. Like
Yeah.
it's really recent thing, but just like recently kind of was making the rounds again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Of a person that I have a lot of interest in seeing what happens from now is Ross Ulbricht. He was pardoned after serving the equivalent of 2.5 lifetimes in prison for being the architect of the Silk Road. He's free. He has really good hair, if I may say. I mean, I was expecting him to come out looking like Juggernaut or something like that, like super long stringy hair, a beard down to here, and him looking like Encino Man,
or like Nick Cage from Con Air or something, or like
exactly. Yes, because he's coming out. He's like, "What's the world like now?" I tell you what, though, I am very curious to see what he's going to build because he looks like he's in good health. He doesn't look too gaunt. He has a plant that he's kept alive. He clearly has had a lot of time to think. He keeps up with things. It would not shock me if he knows very much about what's going on in the world. But I think I saw somebody tweet that knowing that he had to architect and code the Silk Road by hand, working all the Tor stuff and all that, and someone can spin up an agent that can replicate everything he's doing in less than 3 minutes. It probably was a very sad moment for him. And I was just like, huh. But now, He's going to be taken care of, that's for sure. So I'm sure there's a lot of things waiting for him, and I'm very curious to see what he builds. Yeah.
I think every dormant wallet which now moves Bitcoin is going to be linked to him.
Oh, that's a good
Potentially.
point. Oh man, I wonder. Makes me wonder how much Bitcoin he might actually have.
And I also saw is like now does so like does he have any claim to the Silk Road Bitcoin that the U.S. government still has? If he now hasn't committed crimes, like would that not? Shouldn't he have some of that Bitcoin?
That's a great point, Pete. I have no idea. I totally didn't even think about that because I figured they had control of it. So that means he doesn't have control of it.
Right, yeah,
Uh,
like it's in their own wallet for sure, but legally, would he have claim to it?
When you get pardoned, do they also reverse the fines you pay, or whatever they
Actually,
cost you?
I think it was commuted, so I think it's still going to remain on his record.
Well,
So
it was
like I said, I don't know.
mentioned as like a, I don't know, it's like a full and something pardon. Like
Yeah,
I
we'd have
don't
to
know that
look.
if it was just commuted. I think it might have been more than that.
Really? Okay,
Yeah.
He should just launch Bitcoin.
he might.
Yeah.
Like full privacy and everything. I mean, if there was ever a time for Monero to be bullish, it might be now. Not financial advice. Uh, I hadn't even thought about buying some XMR, but I just might off of this news. Um, yeah. So Ross Ulbricht, per the promise that he made on the campaign trail, uh, he was President Trump was nudged by Rand Paul to do this. By the way, obviously, he's got a gazillion executive orders related to TikTok and all kinds of things on his desk that he signed before this. But the fact is, he did it. Ross
I
is a free
mean,
man.
I will certainly give credit. I mean, day two for a day one promise is not that bad.
No, 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 no. I know. Um, I know. I'm very curious to see what Ross builds. Wish him the best of luck. Ross, if you ever want to come on the show and talk about your experience, you're more than welcome to. If you see this, and yeah, you want to learn about DeFi, Ross? Let's go make some money. But in any case, yeah. So he's free, and we'll see what happens off the back of this. So, um, yeah, definitely keep an eye out for what this guy builds next. I have that in our agenda. Like, definitely look out for what comes next. We'll go ahead and move on to the what we've learned section. We'll run through this real quick so we can get to some things that I know, Robert, you want to talk about. I'm sure Pete, you have some thoughts on too. Now that things have calmed down a bit, right? We're looking at the crypto space. We're seeing green again. Things are back up. Things are starting to level back out. The waters have receded, as we as we normally hear, from an incoming storm like this. So starting with base, they have a 2025 mission, vision, and strategy document that I think is very interesting, mainly for the audacious goals that they have, which is to bring on 25 million people onto base, 25,000 developers, 250 is that megagas
I
a
believe so.
second of block space capacity, 100 billion assets on platform, and a billion transactions on base in October. I mean, EP, I don't know how much of those is going to come from Beefy, but could be a sizable chunk the way that things are going. What are your
Definitely
thoughts
hope
on
so.
this list? Yeah, it's hope so for you guys, for sure.
One of the things in this document, which I think stood out most for me, was about bringing Coinbase on chain.
Yes.
Like, I mean, and I think it's like the Coinbase wallet potentially is going to be one of the biggest benefactors of the updates, which the EIPs, which are in Pectra. Like, I think they're going to be set up to be able to provide a really Web 2 feeling user experience for DeFi, which I think will be massive for adoption.
Yeah. When I thought about it, I was like, the one thing that base is missing is a good perp dex. And I was just looking earlier, it looks like Demex, which is a long-standing Cosmos IBC app chain's coming to base. And Jesse, congratulate the team for building on base. But reading this, that makes way more sense as to why there's never been a really good perp dex on base. It's because they're bringing the mothership on chain, which, whoa. Your thoughts, Robert, on this?
Yeah, I do think if they actually follow through with bringing Coinbase on chain, that would accomplish everything pretty much that they have listed here. But I think a lot of the volume actually could come from, which we're going to get onto next soon, I think, is agents, right? So, I mean,
yep.
Base was one of the first, Coinbase and Brian Armstrong and Base were one of the first over the past few months to start publishing about agents. And so yep. I think undoubtedly that'll help them hit the targets they have outlined here.
Yeah, we talked about that last week with Ken and Luke from Taoshi. We were going over the timeline. The tweet from Mark Andreessen where he gifted 50,000 to Andy, the creator of Truth Terminal. That was in July, if you can believe how much time has passed. And then I think it was around October that Lincoln, the creator of the Coinbase Smart Wallet, talked about Coinbase's agent kit, where you could spin up an AI agent in less than 3 minutes as long as you had a Coinbase API, a ChatGPT API key, and Replit, which is an environment for real-time programmers, which is pretty crazy. But yeah, the ability that they'll be able to pull this off specifically for bringing on Coinbase on chain is going to be huge, because if there's one thing they've really improved, it's their mobile app, and this could really help onboard a lot more mobile people, I think would be the word I would use. Definitely to counteract Jupiter, because Jupiter has been putting in a lot of work to make this a reality for Solana, and it's very, very frictionless. So if they can do that on Base, and we talk about all the time in our groups, Solana and Base. If you want to go to places where you can't miss on volume TVL making some yield, pretty easy bets for that. So
yeah, and I think the biggest EVM hurdle from a user experience right now is definitely just token approvals, and so this is moving more and more. I think being able to get away from token approvals,
which will be interesting, right? We talked last week about Sonium, which is Sony's layer 2, and how much of a complete just awful show that was. This could, I think that could be like where Sonium could crawl so everybody else can walk. I think there's going to be something like that on Base, honestly. So you're gonna have permanently whitelisted types of IPs and things like that to make it easier to just kind of put a lot of the token approvals on the side. With that said, you're going to have to KYC anyway. So if that's not something you're down with, then this isn't part of the roadmap for you. But talking about what's up next, now that the waters have come back, AI is doing pretty well. But we'll talk about that in a second. I did want to talk about the one thing I think is going to be huge, which is going to be on-chain markets and perp dexes. I don't know if you've seen this in a little bit, guys, but normally this dex to sex dominance is like in the 20s, 10s, 20s, 30s, right? On Sunday, this number was 69%. Over 60%. Obviously, Trump has a lot to do with that. But if they can figure out a way to continue this momentum, and I'm talking about all the perp dexes, whether it be Jupiter, Drift, Synthetics, Hyperliquid, GMX. Did I say Drift? Yeah. And now our friends at Variational, just a real quick plug for them. Their testnet is going invite only mode. I have the date that they're going on mainnet. I'm not going to share it, but this is from Max, one of our friends here of the show. Good luck to them as they're getting very close to going on mainnet. Join their Discord if you want to be a part of the wait list to try out variational. And again, GMX, some of these other places, they just have a couple perps. Hyperliquid, of course, is probably the most premium perp DEX now in the space. Front end on Arbitrum until they get to their Hyper EVM chain. Variational is going to have hundreds of perps at launch. So definitely something to look at on Arbitrum as they get very, very, it's coming very soon with regards to what's going on. There's going to be a lot of launches in the next couple of weeks, guys. Just so you know, there's going to be a lot of launches. So tons of opportunities across multiple blockchains, new blockchains that are coming. It's going to be pretty interesting. But back to my argument for the DEX thing. We're seeing the early signs of the flippening from DEXs to SEXs with regards to market dominance. We're going to start seeing more people now start to move their way into decentralized finance to use decentralized exchanges and perp DEXs and whatnot. Like one thing too, I didn't put the link here. Deribit, which is a derivatives exchange, they did $1 trillion in volume in 2024. That is gigantic for something that's for the most part ETH mainnet based. So whether that's institutions, whether that's going to be retail taking over, the move to DeFi is coming. So again, guys, we've been early for many years now, but yeah. EP, do you have any thoughts on this number? This shift in volume on chain?
Yeah, it's a flippening that people weren't really on the lookout for. I don't feel. I think it's incredible to be above 50%, and especially in such large numbers. I think it definitely helps that it's actually like, I mean, I think most crypto central exchanges are, but the fact that it's open 24 hours and you can make transactions whenever you want. I think that's a very massive thing. That's a very strong, compelling factor for decentralized exchanges.
Yeah, what do you think, Robert? What are your thoughts on this? I mean, this is just huge. This is huge volume. Specifically 3 billion in DEX TVL from Radium, obviously Pump.Fund hits a lot of that. Uniswap over 5 now with their AI agent pools. Meteora with Trump, getting that huge boost. So
yeah, I think it's inevitable. I mean, I think it's on a trajectory that can't really be stopped at this point. Meme coins are not going away, and so that's going to be always going to be there. And yeah, I do think that with the, improvements in account abstraction, less like drastically reducing the amount of signing of transactions that has to happen, and so forth. I mean, just they call it, they're calling it now like grandma mode. Putting things into grandma mode is going to keep that number sustainable, I think.
Yeah, and there's easier ways to get onboarded. Especially if they bring Coinbase on chain, and now that Phantom supports Solana and Base, like on Sunday they Layer 0 turned Trump into an omnifungible token, meaning it's easily bridged now between multiple blockchains. You can set up a Trump pool in multiple places. I don't know if Beefy has Trump USDC or Trump ETH pools.
The OFT, the OFT on Base, the owner is an EOA, so that's a no-go. That's a no-go for us.
Okay, fair enough. Well,
we were ready, licking our chops to be able to do CLM for that, but rugged by security, having high security standards.
Love it, and that's fantastic. Don't stray from that, right? That's the one thing that's why we look to Beefy as such a paragon in this industry. Yeah, fantastic news, I will say. Way to stick to the principles. We'll go and move on to the next thing, of course. AI agents are starting to move back up, right? At least in our community, we're looking very closely at the AI agents. We've been on them since day one. One that's come out is monsters.fun. I think this could be an interesting way to gamify what's happening because we're seeing a lot of saturation out there. Of course, I'm not trying to drop alpha here. I have tweeted a referral code. I'm not trying to look for signups for that, but I do think gamifying a narrative always works, right? We're seeing that with Creator.bid and their membership tokens. Cato, it's not on the agenda. I was going to talk about that if we had time, but just the yapping and the ability for SocialFi is now yapping, right? So I think gamifying anything like that, like with yapping, which I still don't understand what the word means because I'm old. Monsters.fun gamifying agents to work amongst each other. I don't know if this will actually pull multiple agents or if this is just something you just create like Digimon or Pixelmon. If it is, then it is what it is. But it's gonna be on the abstract chain, which is launching very soon from Penguins and Igloo. So interesting to see where we go from here. We'll move on to the next thing. Also cookie.fun, like they have done a really great job of gamifying mindshare specifically, with the different AI agents out there. I can't believe we're still rotating into Fartcoin. Uh, uh,
What a weird timeline we live in.
I know. I mean, it's a very obvious meme, right? It's an obvious meme, but I still don't understand why it's this obvious. Um, hmm. I'm thinking about a coin I should release, but I'm not going to. But go ahead.
Release. Yeah.
I have to go ahead and drop. So it's been a pleasure.
No, you're fine.
Being with you today.
Thank you, Pete, for being here. Check out Beefy. It's amazing.
See you, Pete.
All right, let's talk about something that's been taking a lot of. I've been very intrigued with, and this is something that we really haven't talked a whole lot about. But Robert having some experience with the Reserve platform, I am very intrigued by DTFs, which for younger people has a very different meaning, unfortunately. But that's probably part of the memetics of it all, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So DTF, Decentralized Token Folio. This is something that is powered by the Reserve protocol. Reserve being just a great platform to have a tokenized basket of stable assets, specifically in countries with hyperinflationary economies, and just having anti-fragile, censorship-resistant stablecoins. To us, that's what Reserve has always meant to us. We're very, very, one of our favorite protocols in all of DeFi. But with Meme Indexer and DeFi, DEFAI, give me a little bit of a rundown of why we should be bullish on DTFs here, Robert.
Yeah, so I was with Reserve for a few months. I'm sure that the team could definitely articulate it better than me, but I've invested in it, and I'm really into the idea. I think it's brilliant. It's something they had been talking about for a little while during the summer, as they were kind of just kind of forming the concepts. And so, I think it's interesting because as I put it to you in our chat before, I think it's a token index, like a broad token index masquerading as like a meme indexer. So,
okay.
It's catching the zeitgeist of memes. It's catching that wave, that narrative. But ultimately, it's for everything. It's an index for everything, everything that can be tokenized. And so that could be, it can capture different sectors. So for example, if it's basically like anybody can create an index for any basket of tokens they want. And so if you can create like an index for real world assets, RWAs, you can create an index for meme coins, you can create an index for AI coins. And so whoever creates those indexes, or whoever wants to buy into those indexes, can get exposure to all these different sectors. And so like the sky's the limit. When they were kind of theorizing this approach or this platform in different meetings that we had at Monetarium, which was the conference that Reserve had in San Francisco during the summer.
Yeah.
They were really thinking about, what would an index of everything look like?
Right.
And would that be like the safest asset in the world, or would it just be like this kind of like recursive loop that was impossible to grasp? So. But that's the basic idea. I think it's cool and fun and interesting that they're kind of launching it in this really meme-oriented way. Not to mention the fact that they're also launching a DeFi, DEFAI agent to run
Right,
along
which
with
is
it.
Franklin, right?
That's Franklin. Yeah, that's a kind of a recent announcement, I think.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So you're gonna have terminal access to chat with Franklin. You need to hold a minimum of 10K DTF. All right. Well, how much
So
is
the price is like like 1.2 cents.
Yeah, roughly around there.
It's like around $120 right now.
Yeah, $120. That's cheaper than Griffin.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I hold more than 10.
Yeah, I need to clearly get some of these just to check it out.
Yeah, but yeah, that's
Interesting.
but that's the way that Franklin works, from what I understand too. Is it's relatively standard, I think, for how a lot of these DeFi AI agents work. The portfolio management, machine learning integration, sentiment, like just making decisions for you, essentially, optimizing your portfolio.
Yeah.
Things like that, like different difficulty levels, grandma mode or grandpa mode, degen mode, et cetera, et cetera. And it's also 24/7, which is what these agents do, of course, or what they can do. They can trade while you're asleep, and so, or they can optimize your portfolio while you're sleeping, and so, yeah, that's cool though. I mentioned this when you first brought up the crypto integration with agents, a few months ago.
Yeah.
When you showed us the Coinbase publication,
Right.
I said it then. I said it then. I'll say it now. I think what makes this interesting is that it just changes the whole game theory of trading.
Yes.
It's like, how there's going to be like a spectrum of quality of agents, right? I mean, they'll be competing with each other, a million times faster than we compete with each other as humans. And so I'm really curious to see how that kind of, metabolizes through the through the trading world.
No, I think this is very interesting. That's going to drive value for DTF overall. I'm sure there'll be fees and stuff that people have to pay.
It's a
That they'll continue to use.
1% fee.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, it's interesting.
That
yeah.
is
What do you think? What do you think about it so far?
I think these are things that people are looking for, right? When they're like, okay, cool, an AI agent that can tell me about sports betting results, or an AI agent that just sits there and regurgitates, everything that's out there in the world and gives me, a better feed, like AIXBT, stuff like that, right?
Well, it's the ones
that type
have
of stuff is.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, that's like the first couple levels, right? But what we're looking for is actual agents that can, because memories is the big thing now, right? Persistence, the ability to take data and persist it from, one chat to another, one prompt to another, where you can actually have it do multiple things. Automate from Hanon also did want to give that project a shout out to what they're trying to do cross chain, because before it was just like, all right, it was only on Base, it was only on Solana. Now they're going to start working cross chain. This is where stage 4 of AI agency is starting to come into effect. Before it was just like, let's see if we can just kind of have an autonomous posting robot. Let's see if we have an autonomous token deployer. Have them talk to each other. That's stage 1. Stage 2. Now we have, a whole army of different agents and tokens that are out there with different utilities. And then stage 3 is building frameworks on top of them, so now anyone can do it, as opposed to being like a typical, this is a very proprietary type of thing. Now it's very open. We have multiple frameworks and development frameworks to make AI agency a real thing. And now stage 4, the ability to have almost like an assistant doing these things for you, regardless of what the context is, if it's trading, if it's portfolio management, even if it's helping you learn things at the same level like you would have with ChatGPT, with Claude, things like that. But being able to have it there in a crypto context, with a lot of people making a lot of gains here in this space, this is something that frankly is a no-brainer of an investment to at least try to see if it works for you. Worst case scenario, you can just sell your DTF tokens and be on your way onto the next narrative. But
or you can just buy it for the name.
there's that too.
Yeah.
I mean, there's all kinds of things that are happening in this space. This is very interesting. I like the idea of beneficial agents, right? There's creativity agents. There's productivity agents, like what I think this would be. And there's also infrastructure agents, which are a lot of things that we've looked at, for quite some time. So overall, I think this is good. I have reached out to Reserve to see if we can get someone from their team to come over and talk to us a little bit more about them. We're going to see them when we're in Denver, but would love to have someone from their team on here to kind of talk more about what's the next step on the roadmap for Reserve, including this side of the market in with what they do now, specifically with pretty stable coins that are out there. Some of our personal favorites, whenever we try and recommend them to people, we like to recommend Reserve stable coins. So probably good value buy also for RSR, continuing to put value into that token from all of these other projects. So
yeah, and I think this is I do hold some RSR, of course, but this is like extremely low cap compared to RSR. And so this is another way to get exposure to just that whole project. I think the Hive buzz, which you tipped me off to recently, that's an interesting one too, because what is it? How you say it? It works with different agents working together, basically.
Yes, it's an infrastructure for them to talk to each other. One thing I didn't put on here too, Virtuals is now created. They've upgraded their framework so that it now works with ELIZA, Cerebro, and multiple other giant frameworks. So in a way, it went from being a provider to now being the sidewalk that all of the agents can walk along and have different interactions. So
I guess they call it swarms, actually. That's right. Yeah.
Swarms. Yeah. Swarms there's a lot of interesting tech out there. Much like DeFi, I think we're going to see multiple different groups coming around. Like, are you part of the OP Superchain? Are you part of the Arbitrum Orbit? Are you part of the Polygon Ag Layer? With regards to AI agency, right? There's going to be a lot going on, and there's going to be a lot of wars. And I'm just hoping that us as users can have the best benefit out of all of that moving forward. So we'll continue to talk about this stuff. It's very intriguing. We're working on getting more of these teams on the call to join us here on panel. And yeah. So with that said, that's all we have for you today. Robert, hire this man. Tell them where they can find you.
Oh, you can find me on X, Omega__84. And on Telegram, Omega_84.
Wonderful. One last plug for our free group. Again, if you would like to know more about decentralized finance, on-chain investing, please join us. It's our absolutely free group, school.com/beacon. Join the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people who have joined the community. Of course, it's absolutely free. Come and check out DeFi. Learn how to get onboarded. And if you want more, we've got plenty more offerings for you to get there faster. And then, of course, to work along with myself and Robert and many of our people here in the audience to be among the best and the best in this space. Doing good. We're definitely getting good returns on our investments here in this space, because that's what we're here for, right? So welcome to all you new Trump holders, Melania holders. Barron was clearly a rug. So good luck to all of you, and hope to hear you all more in our community and joining us every week for this show, 1 p.m. Eastern, simulcast here on Twitter as well as our YouTube channel. Ladies and gentlemen, have a great day. Enjoy it. 07, and as we like to say, beacons up, banks down. Take care, everybody.